Hmm. Dum, 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 dum. I'll be with you all in a bit. Weird. Shouldn't be too much longer. Just trying something. Why you do me this? Let's see. Finally. Paste. No. Cancel. Alright, that's done. Pop out the chat, then we can get into the work. Okay, so we've got a 1425, which, well, generally speaking, we don't work on 1425s, but we have a 1425 that we're working on, so that's the way it goes. Now, the biggest problem with the 1425 is it's a 1425. It's not as bad as 1534, but the bigger issue is just that, damn it, I'm going to have to switch over, damn it, damn it, damn it. You have to put up with my face, and you can see the trash fest behind me. Anyway, damn these people. Now, the bigger problem is that it was one of those short-lived models that had a lot of quirks, and engineering-wise, it was like they just put together, it's a Frankenstein machine. And it's hard to get replacement parts sometimes. It's an awkward machine to disassemble. And the biggest problem it tends to have lately that I've found is it loves to eat SMCs, and then getting a working SMC, a fully working SMC, is quite a chore. Hey, Wong Wei, Travis, Miles, Jim. Hey, Jim. Josh, no, I can't imagine what you'd be thinking. Alright, let's go to the overhead. Alright. It's just got a lot of really quirky things about it. I mean, the battery is just a phenomenal nightmare of a thing. So what were they thinking? It was... You can't even get the board out properly without butchering, well, not butchering, but severely bending that battery connector. I don't understand the mentalities. Okay, that's that. Honestly, I've had easier times having a happy dinner date than trying to... There's lint and junk on the separator board. This is the other thing, so they've got these bizarro little bits and pieces that they stick on here, like this separator board between the battery and the circuit board. Yeah, if you lose that, you're up the creek. Yeah, good luck getting another one of those. Okay, so what I'm going to do is plug it in. I better just take the solid state drive out. I mean, it's a novel way of doing a solid state drive, but why they did it that way, it's like they were planning on something else and then I went there. No, let's revert back. Hey, Dratchen. Right, I want to see what the current draw is going to be. So we're going to bring it up 18 volts. Switch over to MagSafe 2. Generally speaking, when you get these machines and they're only like a single release model, as in they only last for 1 year and you never see them again, it's usually a bad sign. Okay, so we get 5 milliamps, no MagSafe. 20 milliamps, no MagSafe. Someone's heated up the chip here. That's not good at all. I don't like seeing that. Right. So basically we've got no activity. Screws are misaligned. Anyone want to put down some bets? I'm going to go we'll either have a hefty short or we've got corrosion somewhere on our 342. But I'm going to sooner guess we've got something's gone and shorted itself out. But we are also dealing with prior repair work here. So we first have to find out what was done and then work back from that. And I don't know why I took my glasses off, as if I think I was going to go under the microscope or something. Hey JBV, good evening to you. I'm just going to take it out because if it has got a short, then that's going to have to be out of the board, out of the frame anyway. And that Wi-Fi connector just popped off real easy, too easy. Don't like that. Okay. So yeah, these poor things, they are genuinely a Frankenstein machine, and we never see them again. I'm missing a screw. CD3215. Righto, Barry. I know you're mocking me there. Barry's going to go in for the CD3215 being faulty. I can almost say that's not a good bet. If we do find a CD3215 on here, that would be quite something. Dennis, welcome. It's also frustrating because you can't actually pull these fans out until you take the board out. Just all the little things that get in your way. And like I said, the fact that you got to pull this battery flex right back. You can't imagine that's going to be good for it. And then if you ever do need to replace the batteries on the... Okay, we have got one pin on this keyboard connector here that has... on the flex, that's been snapped off. I wonder if that was it. Let me just try something quickly. Because if that pin was, say, short into ground and it's a like the power on reset pin, then that could be it. No such luck. Looks like we still have the hard way to go. I thought maybe we would get lucky for a change. 1425 is the backlight connector, so small. Squash. Which one? Oh, this one down here. You're talking about the keyboard backlight connector? Aosis. Hi Greg and 3X. I also hate getting this little clipped in wire assembly off. Okay, that's good. They're a bit like the ones that you find on the 1502s, the 4924 boards. I think some of these screws have been mixed up. Hey, GD Tech. Maybe it's a bad MagSafe. Ah, there's another screw there. These screws are all misaligned. The board, I don't think the board was inserted quite right. Probably because it was just slapped back together. Pardon me. Alright, here we go. Oh, thanks, GD. It's a little short at the moment relative to the hair length. Normally I like to have them both proportionate, but I think it was the other night I was trying to eat dinner and I found I was consuming as much of my own body hair as I was the noodles, and I thought that's it. So I went into the bathroom, got out the beard trimmer and went crazy. But it grows back fast enough. And this heatsink has been abused a little bit. Oh, shite. Alright. Not good. Not good. Really not good. Yeah. And I feel like we're missing a pin there. We've got one wire missing somewhere? What the flippity flip? Okay, maybe we don't have a wire missing, but we're certainly, it's a mess and there's all liquid damage there. Oh, Jesus. Control your hot air, folks. Control your hot air. Holy shite. Alright, we're going to be in for a fun run this one. This is going to be fantastic. Yeah. I guess we shall call it a challenge. Okay, so we've got 2.5 gigahertz, 8 gigabyte board, and we have a 3462. So let's update the details on this board. You probably also see my face a lot better because I've got the new lighting. 158. Eight 3462. Just rescan that in. Oh, now it gives me nothing. That's great. Try that again, shall we? And the computer says, nay, we shall not scan. Come on. That's better. I don't know why it took its time then, but it certainly did. Alright, well, we're just going to start at the front. We're going to see what pin we're missing, if there is any pin missing there. I can't see any floating off there. It's probably just a duplicate, but we need to check these things. Let's see, schematics. Okay, it's an NC. That's a little unusual, but I suppose in this case it's a good thing. And we can't even get that out anymore because that is all melted together. Genuine. That's a genuine cluster truck. Genuine cluster truck. Alright, so we're not getting anything on our MagSafe. So the first thing we tend to check is 342. So bus 3V42. And that's right there for us. And I can already see perhaps why that resistor has blown a hole through its head. I think either that or it's flux. Oh no, it might be flux. Damn it. This thing keeps tempting me with, look, you've got an easy fix. Mind you, to be fair, looking at the board now, I think the options for easy fix well and truly have left the building. We are going to be in for a protracted fight here. Okay, so we're going to go for voltage measurement. Hey Jim, not good about the migraine. Okay. Okay, so we're down at 339, which is actually a little bit low. I mean, it's only 30 millivolts lower, but it sort of leads itself to making us think something else is amiss. And at 339, it's quite likely that the SMC won't be being turned on, as in activated. It'll be like, nah, sorry mate, you need to pick your voltage up a little better. I mean, like I said, I know it's only 30 millivolts, but given that it's a very lightly loaded, it should be a lightly loaded line, we shouldn't be seeing deviations like that. I'm just going to check a couple of lines on the SMC. Dear God. Yeah, the SMC's seen days. The first thing I want to check is to see if this SMC is any good actually. There's 2 test points on these boards that we need to check for the battery. If only I could remember what they were. Nope, not you guys. So we're going to be looking at SMC power good. I have a suspicion that we're not getting SMC at a reset with that low voltage. And it's on here, this is the one, where are you? There's 2 little test points on the board. And they will tell me, here they are. These 2 here. SM bus F system, the clock and the data, now they need to be the same in value. And unfortunately, here they are. Unfortunately, with a lot of these 1425 boards, they are not, and if they're not, then basically the board's no good unless I get another SMC. And getting a good SMC for these boards is becoming quite difficult. I mean, I did one a couple of months ago, and it was thanks to Pedro, funnily enough, Mr. I Scam You, that I actually found one. Okay, 5.0 is good. 5.1, yeah, you know, they're supposed to be pretty close to identical, but it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is enough. It should really be a bit closer than that. Fortunately, they're not completely different. Usually with the destroyed SMC versions, it's like 0.2 and 0.5, so you really know that you've got a dud. So I'm just going to heat up this plastic, sort of shielding. Yeah, this is going to be a job and a half if I'm not careful. Is this other guys trying to get an old 20 megabyte Mac SCSI to work? Cool. What is that, an ST225 or something like that? As opposed to gigabyte. My first computer, PC computer, hard drive was a 20 megabyte unit. Good old MFM unit. I wasn't rich enough to afford an RLL. But most of the RLLs were about 30 or 40 megabyte at that point. Hey Mark Clifford, just saw you there. What I would like to know is, I mean, okay, we can see where there's been rework, but I'm sort of wondering what was the original reported fault. I don't think it was liquid damage by the looks of it. I think it was something else. Anyway, well, certainly this is a horrendous... See, I'm very disinclined to mess with that SMC, except for the fact that what they might have done with this is often people are told, you know, reflow the SMC just to test to see if it works. But the trouble is, if they reflowed this, they brought it up to reflow temperature with that edge bonding on it, then it probably has messed up the balls. So what I might do is take this SMC off and see if we get our 342 back. Yeah. Those resistors are the wrong size. Yeah, they're and one of them's got a pit through a hole, a burn hole. Now, I'm pretty sure that's a burn hole through the middle of that resistor there. Alright, I changed my mind, and there's corrosion there that hasn't been cleaned up. What we're going to do is we're going to swivel those resistors off. We're going to measure to see what they should be, and I have a feeling that one that's got a burn mark on it might be a little off. I suppose I should check to see what they actually are. I have a feeling they're probably I2C pull-ups. I could be wrong. Like I said, this board is not really my fort. Okay, nope, it's DC input divider. Okay, current sense divider. My bad. Oh, here we go. Well, if they have been burned and they're not the right values, then they are going to read wrong, and it may prevent this from actually producing the correct divided voltage to the SMC. So that needs fixing up anyway, because they are the wrong size, and that's not in itself a problem, except for the fact that we're seeing a lot of other issues there. Hey, CMR Zephyr, how's it going, Harold? I still don't have my new hot air station. Goodness knows when it's ever going to get here. It may be that they ended up using these 201 parts instead of 402s because they couldn't source them from anywhere else. Yeah, maybe they had a source, but they were only 201s. Because they are... Let's see, which ones are these? 5492, okay, 100k, that's generic. Oh, no, there's no reason for them to have not used 402s in this case. Let's see if they're both 100k. GD, I couldn't get a quick for a reasonable price, so I ended up trying the Atom, and hopefully I haven't made a mistake by doing that. Alright, 97k. These are 1% resistors, so that is actually out of spec. And that one is in spec. Funnily enough, that's the one with the mark on it that I didn't like. But that one there is actually running a little low. We'll replace them both. I don't think that's going to be the cause though, but we will replace them. Yeah, Barry, look, I'm not really sure where it's coming from, to be honest, but yeah, you're right about the cargo ship issues. I can't even just get a replacement element for this because it'll come through the same path, so I'm doomed. Hopefully this element will stay. Bunty, what, can you give me a description on why you feel it's better? I'm not arguing with you, I'm actually just genuinely curious because I haven't had the experience myself. I guess if I don't like it, what I can do is just resell it to someone domestically. I'm sure there'll be a person willing to buy it from me. Especially if it's not being used that much. Oh, we need a pair of 100k 402s. I should have original source for those. Let's see, 402 caps. Why do I do this to myself every time? To 1 caps. Where are my resistors? Don't tell me it's a... I've got a pile of about 50 dead iPhone screens, and I have a feeling that my resistors are under the bottom of that. And I'm probably going to be wrong now that I said that. Yep, in fact, all that was another box of dead screens. Ah, jeez. Oh, I've got all the boxes marked, so... Oh, there they are, 402 resistors. Completely not where they are supposed to be. I blame whoever was doing tech work in here before. Horst right now, the problem with the Quick is that it's getting weaker, which basically the element itself is getting a bit a bit tired, and I can order another element. I may actually do that. Just 70. Oh, come on, tell me I've got 100 in here. Don't say this. 1k 402. I'm going to be very disappointed in I was just starting to get a little bit frustrated with myself then. But fortunately, my former self was smart enough to have in fact bought the 100Ks. The fact that I've used it a couple of times is probably why I've persisted. My brain was saying, no man, you have used it, you do have them. You just got to keep looking. Gary, no, we had our storms last week, and that was fun. But today we were listed to potentially get a storm, according to the bomb, but nothing came through. Let's see, Bunty. I find the Quick has better heat airflow control. I like the cold air feature of the button and the handle on the Atom, but from using both, I think Quick is just far superior in terms of heat. Alright. Do you feel like it's weaker in terms of amount of energy it can put into the board, or do you feel like it's just not sufficiently consistent, or something like that? Oh, this is some really gnarly. This should have... Yeah. Oh, there we go. Anyone want to bet to see if that's a shorted cap or not? It's certainly a messed up cap. So get our continuity mode up. Amazingly, that doesn't show up as shorted. It's not shorted. It's messed up, but it's not shorted. Not sure what that part is. Display. A whole lot of activity in this section. Yeah, it's this one here. Okay, 5 volt reference for the PCH, 2438. I don't know what that cap's for. Oh, it was the sus reference. Well, it's unlikely, but yeah, the cap could be messing with the reference. It's unlikely. Anyway, so that's a 100 nanofarad 402 10 volt. We're definitely going to get rid of that. It's primarily there is the stability. Hey, Ed Boss. Daily Quest, there's unfortunately far too many possible reasons why that could happen. Okay, 10 volt, 100 nanofarad, 402. Hundred nanofarad, 402, 25 volt. That's going to be fine. It's not a problem. This is not a high ripple current situation, so we're not going to be relying on the cap having a low ESD or anything like that. We're fine. It's really just general purpose. Just going to check see if our behaviour's changed at all. You never know. And the answer is nay. Still the same. That's fine. I'm just trying to get more into the habit of incrementally checking these things. Okay, so what we wanted to have a look at was, when we were looking at the schematic before, Hey, Mo! No, I might grab him and bring him in since he wants to. Come here. You just like to be the showpiece, don't you? Huh? There you go. Say hello again. Hmm? What you doing? Really? Uh-huh. Okay. You said hello to everybody? Good. There you go. Alright. He does not like it when I'm in here. In fact, most of the household does not like it when I'm in here trying to do work. So there it goes. Alright, so what was I looking for? Oh, that's right. In this startup, no, our 342 is a little bit low. So I'm going to check on U5010 and see if it is actually even pulling SMC reset up. And it's a pretty dirty looking section there. That's Milo, whom we call Momo. So plug some power in, switch to voltage mode, and let's see, well, we'll check the main thing first. Alright, so it is actually happy with that. It's pulling SMC reset L up to high. So really from there it's over to the SMC and we're just not getting any comms there. We can check our 1-wire circuit. I have a pretty good feeling that it's going to end up being a case of the SMCs being butchered, or reflowed, or something like that. So 1 wire. Is this 1 wire? Which of course is way over here again. Right next to where all this went to hell. Just going to quickly check those resistors as well. And that resistor appears to be quite... Oh no, it's come to life. It's a little sus. Okay, maybe my probes are a little bit dirty. Dig them in a bit more. 27. That's actually too high. That's a 10 ohm resistor, so it should always be that value or less. 47's on the mark, but that 10 ohm is incorrect. Now the reason why it should always be that value or less is because across the two terminals of resistor you cannot add resistance in between those two terminals, so the only other way you can have the circuit influence that particular set of 2 points is if there is another resistance parallel or outside of those 2 points, in which case that will always reduce the resistance will always come down. So if you end up measuring across a resistor that in this case we're expecting to be 10 ohms and it comes up as 20 ohms, you got a problem. Let's make sure so that's supposed to be a 10 ohm resistor, and maybe what I thought was a piece of solder junk is in fact a defect. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, that is definitely a defect. We definitely do have a hole. Well, I spotted that straight away at the start, but I convinced myself it was actually a flux defect, as in just a piece of flux on it. But I was wrong. It is in fact a hole. Yeah. And that explains perhaps why we're not getting anything. Should have went with my first instinct, yes, I do agree. Question is, why did it blow? That's the problem. Now what I really hate here is that, yeah, that connector really should have been removed. The worst thing is I do not have replacement connectors for that. So I'm actually going to try and just do the old dirty heat up one side then the other trick to get this resistor off. I might just use some 250, bit of assisting air, and it should give us enough to slide that off. There we go. Boink. Where did that go? I wonder what its value actually is. It's probably open circuit. It looks like it's 15 ohms. Now, it doesn't seem like a big change, an extra 5 ohms, but you know, it is 50% more, and that will affect this circuit enough. It might, yeah, no, it doesn't really overly explain the slightly lower value, but because the regulator should still regulate until a load is imposed on it, sufficient load. Just get ourselves a replacement 10 ohm. There we go, that one there. And we need to go full heat on that. Now I'm not going to hot air that on, I'm just going to manually solder it, but I will clean off one of the pads just to make it easy to sit it flat. Unfortunately I just happen to have my chisel bit, so it makes it easy for me to do this. Didn't even get it on there long enough to warm up. Way too much solder, but oh well. Alright, well, you know, that excess solder on the 47 ohm resistor is setting off my OCD. Hey Steve Cave. Okay, let's see if this works now. Nope, still nothing. Let's see if that 342 has come back up or whether it's still sort of hanging low. Oh wait, no, yes, we're back. We're up. We're up. We're up. We're up. So it looks like it was the burnt resistor as the primary issue. We are booting here. If I put a chipmunk in there, it should start flashing. Assuming I get it the right way up. Yeah, we've got a green blink on the chipmunk, so this is actually booting now. But my god, what a terrible looking thing. I think the 1425 does have a slow startup when you plug it in. I do seem to recall encountering that. I could be lying to myself, but like I said, I do seem to recall that. But honestly, it's a train wreck of a board, this one. And I'm worried about that SMC, but I don't think I'm going to disturb it. I kind of want to because I'm worried that it has been disturbed and I want to reset it. But I guess I'll put it through testing and yeah. Let's put it back into the chassis and see if it can at least try and run some tests. Well, we had three things that we fixed up there. We had the 10 ohm resistor. We had the voltage divider resistors for the DC input. And we had that cap on the PCH sus 5 volt sense line. Maybe we went about it backwards, but we still got there in the end, it seems. Hey Joshua, it was on the weekend, it was. Elita's still not talking to me though. Not much anyway. She finds it highly offensive when I do this. It makes her think that there's a strange man living in the house. Right. I hate reassembling these boards because of the way they've done the flexes. Oh yeah, that's right. The other problem we've got is this keyboard flex is actually damaged too. And not in an easy way to fix. Not without ripping out the whole damn thing. 10 years younger. Hey, I'm in my 40s still. Yeah, look at this. So this is one of the... Okay, so it's been folded back. 90% chance it's going to snap when I unfold it, but I'm going to have to. Hey, I recycle. Thanks for joining in. But yeah, this is one of the problems with them having the battery jammed up, well I should say the circuit board jammed up so close to the battery, is that when you try to insert these flexes back in, it almost always results in this sort of issue. Now, even though I've flattened it back down, I'm almost certain that I'll have to basically, yeah, that's going to fatigue and break off. Yeah, I do not wish to actually replace that. I might be able to snake a replacement through, just through here. But nay, I don't want to. And the terminals of this battery are exposed too, that's not great. Smidge of green, I was thinking that, or a tiny dot of cyano and the same sort of thing, scratch back. But I don't know, if green's not going to really hold it down, so I think I might go cyano. Because at least the cyano can get in underneath the track. Hey, Colonel Panic. Steve K. What? Killed a man with a faulty power supply? Attempted. What? Hey, Yunimura. I don't even know what Steve is referring to. Oh wow, it's somewhat disagreeing with the plastic substrate. Oh well, no. I guess you could say I killed me. Okay, the CA is actually attacking the white coat, but not the black backing. I kind of need to push that down, and I need to spritz it, but two issues at hand. I don't have any bicarb water, and yeah, that's about it. I don't have any bicarb water. I might just try ordinary water. Just a bit of moisture to set the CA off. And as feared, it didn't really bond. Maybe a case of that has to go into the connector and fingers crossed. Clear lacquer under it. Well, that's what CA basically is trying to be. The CA's got a better chance of bonding than clear lacquer. Clear lacquer's going to have a bit of an issue with it in terms of strength. They're all poor choices really. The only best choice is to replace that flex, but we'll just see how we go. I suppose if we could find a exceptionally low viscosity epoxy, you could try that, but it's probably less drama to just simply just change the flex. Because, Steve, it's not that bad a reaction, it's just taking the paint up a little bit. It's not bad. And I figured if it did botch it up, well, there's always the, replace it option. And it's not eating through the actual hard membrane, hard portion of the flex. It's just getting a little tasty on the paint. I run the extractor while I'm working with super glue. The fumes very quickly give me flu type symptoms. Ah, damn it, and I've snagged it. God, did I mention I don't like this board? Have I mentioned that to anyone? Just in case I hadn't said anything before. I really don't like this board. And you're down at this, yeah, you lousy little, yeah. This is for testing anyway, so it can stay buried, but it's for testing. Just annoying when you get flexes snagged under the board like that. Yeah, at least the backlight for the keyboard didn't. iRecycle is one of the 1425s. Do you get screen output through external display? Let's see if we can even get anything coming up. No display via HDMI, but you get a bong, so it's coming to life but no display. Ooh. Is that with the screen cable disconnected? Hey, Yosef Brown. This is going to take a little while, possibly to boot, because everything's disconnected and it's not going to find its primary boot device. Okay, so we've got a logo. That's great. It's going to go off to the USB stick now. Okay, so with it disconnected, and it's this particular board, 3462. No display. Sounds like a Mux fault. Oh, 1398. Oh, okay, 1398. They'll probably, if it's something like a 820. If it's not the 3332. Okay, if it's the 3332, it'll be a U8900. You just need to solder that, and that you don't even have to reflow it. Just resolder all the pins around it, and it should come good. If it's the later ones, not the triple, things like the 138, the 426, or the 163, then it'll be your VRMs. So change those, and it should go okay. So hopefully, if you use the 3332, and then you can just redo U8900. Unless you already have done that, in which case then I'll say, well, that's going to be fun. Is it even worth ultrasonic? It is, yes. We will ultrasonic clean this one. Early model 3332, in that case it'll be U8900. Just redo that chip. There's no point in me running that any further just yet. I need to plug everything into. Let's see, what is this? This is a 138 board, I think. Yeah, that's not 3332. Let me just find a 3332. La 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 la. I need a 3332. 3332. Yeah, 3332. You better be a 3332. Yeah, here we go. This chip here. I think no, yes, no. Oh yeah, I had it upside down. Yeah, so if you just go along and do the following. Do you have a micro pencil or do you have a normal size JSO2 or something like that? Yeah, with these ones, what happens is the connections to the chip get a bit fractured, so you just have to, go along and get new solder on them. You may need to use the hot air to warm it up a little bit while you do this, or you can put the first layer of solder down and then bring in the hot air at about 250. Well, something that's not going to reflow it, but it's going to let you saw away at those bad connections and come good again. The only things I will point out are, do not be surprised if you eat the resistor that's here. There's a resistor that sits here and it often gets eaten up by the soldering iron tip when you're going along and cleaning all these up. Just watch out for that. And then when you're finished, absolutely make sure there's no shorts between any of, there's no bridging between those pins, because if there is, it almost always kills the GPU and then you really are in trouble. Alright. But U8900. Alright, what I'm going to do is, that was booting very slowly. I have to plug in some more bits and pieces to make sure that we actually do get a high-speed one. Miles, I have not had much of a chance. I've dug around, tried a few more things, still didn't have any luck. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of diagnostic data yet for it, so it does make it difficult to find things. It's kind of like trying to find your way through a horror maze for the first time, knowing that you could die, and trying really hard to not be an idiot and die. They are simpler boards, but we just don't have the information for their boot sequences and things like that yet. Not enough, anyway. Oh, I've been bugging Tim, don't worry about that. Tim's been a bit of a chocolate teapot right now for me. It's not his fault, it's just inevitable because of the nature of the board that we're dealing with. It's just not well known enough. Okay, we want the battery connected on this. These boards can misbehave quite a bit if you do not have a good battery connection. Trap flex, yeah, I know that's trapped, yeah, I'm not worried about that one. I mentioned it earlier. That one I'm pretty sure is the microphone. So I think we can actually get away without having to connect that one up. Okay, so this whole board's got to come back out when I ultrasonic it. We're just testing it to make sure we're not going to be dealing with, say, an SMC issue or something still. I have to see that it charges, and I have to see that it holds a decent frame rate on what do you call it, on the Valley graphics test. 9. Yeah, that's better. I forgot about the camera. Yeah, I know the battery is connected, but in this case we can actually get away with it as long as I use a plastic spudger. Okay. Sometimes the camera can cause problems, like if the I2C line that it uses, if the camera is holding it down, it will make everything run very slow. This time I will hold down the option key. I appreciate it. Good spotting anyway, Gavin. Good spotting. Yeah, keyboard doesn't feel like it's alive. That should have come up. Alright, it's actually scooting all over the place. Just noticed that. Is that bad MagSafe or... No, it's trying to come up and then it shuts down. If you look at the current, it's like 1 amp shuts down, 1 amp shuts down, 1 amp shuts down. Interestingly, the board itself is spinning constantly. Alright, so what do we have here? Do we have a bad battery? Bad ISL? Trying to charge the battery? The current is now consistent again. Keyboard's functioning. So we don't know at this point whether we've got a bad ISL or bad battery. Let's hope it's not the battery. Because replacing the ISL is comparatively trivial on this. we'll get an opportunity to test out some various peripherals while we're at it. This is one battery I don't bother to keep on hand for testing. Okay, so Wi-Fi is good. Let's see. Temperatures seem okay. Ah, you mongrel, you. Ugh. Spacebar, yep. Escape, yep. Cap locks, yep. Alright, so that's all working. Keyboard's working rather. Oh, the battery won't be taking any charge right now because I've taken out the essential connecting pin. FaceTime's good. This is all reporting good, so chances are the SMC is quite okay in this. Alright, so we just need to find out whether we've got a battery fault or whether we've got an ISL fault. The easiest thing we can do is replace the ISL. If it fixes it, great. If it doesn't, we go to the battery. And me. It could also be something else. Even if the battery voltage was 0, it shouldn't cause it to do that sort of looping behavior that we were seeing. Just had to double check my power supply to make sure it was capable of delivering 5 amps. Because I've been messing around with it for doing other jobs, and sometimes you can accidentally set that current threshold down low and forget to re-establish it back to 5 amps. But typically you would know that that's happened because the power supply screams at you when you exceed the cut-off current. I mean, you won't be able to charge, but you should be able to. Should still detect the chip, the battery, and even if it doesn't detect the battery, it shouldn't make it cycle like that. The only way that it might happen is if it is tying down the I2C lines, but even then, that shouldn't happen. Then again, shouldn't is one thing, doesn't is another. So yeah, the battery's got voltage in it, so yeah, it's battery there. You come out? Yep. There doesn't seem to be any defects on that transfer wafer. Okie doke. Schematics. Definitely already spent way too much time on this. Because remember, we're still wondering also what caused that 10 ohm resistor to burn out. Okay. I'm going to check our various current sense resistances. Yeah, 22 is about right for that one. .2 is about right for that. So the current sense circuitry seems to be okay. But yeah, we'll swap that out. Jeez, there's some really butchered up parts around here. I'm just having a visual look to see if I can spot anything like that nicely corroded cap that we had on the other side on the the PCH sus sense line. It could also be that my concern about this having been reflowed, quite likely, it may actually have a couple of the lines that are going between it and the ISL, maybe they have crossed over, and when it tries to communicate, it causes it to trip over itself and reset. You can see some solder's being applied onto that. Alright. Well, we'll just swap the ISL. It's a bit of a tri-star blind replacement thing. If all else fails, try the tri-star. Although for a lot of people it's try the tri-star without anything else. It's just like, just do the tri-star. Obviously we're talking iPhones there, not MacBooks. Well, we know that the data lines are actually okay because we measured them, it was 0.5 and 0.51. Admittingly, there was that slight discrepancy, so it might have something to do with this. Okay. Kind of curious now to see what the diode mode is. It should have changed, but the key again is, are they the same or are they different? So 603. So they're a little bit closer now. So 603 for that one, and yeah, so they're more within the tolerance I would have expected. So it is possible the IS... I'm going to destroy my equipment. It is possible the ISL was dodgy. Now I've got to find another ISL, which is not the easiest thing around here. I mean, you can find ISLs like this, but they're so beaten up they look like they've been through a war zone. So we won't use that. What about this one? Nope, that's another war zone. Most of the time you just don't have the chip on there. Missing. Well, this one looks like it might be pretty. Oh yeah, that's a pretty one. Yeah, we'll take that one. Yeah, I believe we'll take this one. I really don't know why this is so noisy. In fairness, when you do burn out things like the 10 ohm and the 4.7 ohm input resistors, it should be by default that you then go and replace the ISL anyhow. It's just sort of like, well, if those two got damaged, then something probably has happened to the ISL. So, a bit of a my bad in a way for not doing that by default. I'm going to personally blame the YouTube audience for distracting me from such important thoughts. Dennis, I am not, no. No, my wife is wholesomely Australian, mate. I gotta say, you spell it differently to how I say it. That's because your version is Dutch and mine is Afrikaans. Hey, with gaming from Nepal. How's it going? Yeah, look, any sort of Dutchish or Germanic or anything like that, it would be because of my my time in Africa. Well, it's funny enough, there is a substantial number of South Africans living in Australia nowadays. Thank goodness for that, because it means I can steal their food. Come on. Come on. Nice. We just gotta saw up the end bits here a little bit. That little piece of sand or something that just keeps sticking around like a bad smell. There, right there. It's a piece of sand. Bit crooked, I agree. We'll give it another heat. And we'll let it decide on how it wants to identify itself as. We may coerce it slightly. I'll try not to do that too much. There we go. Interesting to see what those diode vodes values are like now. Vodes. D. The reason why it's changing at the moment is because the board's cooling down, and as it cools down, the junction voltage potential difference changes. So 0.48 going up, 0.48 going up. So yeah, we're certainly looking like we're a lot closer than we were before. It can be tricky because when you're measuring diode values between boards and things like that, you can't be too pedantic about the third decimal place or anything like that. Most of the time, you're lucky if you get 10% within 10% range of other boards. But when it comes to measuring the values on the same board, like in this case, the clock and the data line for the same bus, that's when you can start to get a little bit more pedantic, because you know you're dealing with exactly you can get pedantic from one to the other, as opposed to these values versus another board's values. Okie dokie. Right, now we've got to put the... We'll see if it misbehaves, just putting the battery back in. I did get the polarity right on that, didn't I? Yeah. What clips are you talking about, Miles? Oh, Dennis, no harm in asking about that stuff. It's all good. I don't have any problem chit-chatting about my South African heritage that I don't have. I really do not have any South African heritage in me at all. I just simply went there, appropriated the culture, stole what I liked, pretended the stuff I didn't like didn't exist, and then got kicked out of the country because they decided not to renew my visa. They were nice-ish enough about it. They let me stay another 3 months under a tourist visa, just so I could sell my house and clean up my affairs and all that sort of stuff. Wasn't exactly how I wanted to see my final days in South Africa, but yeah, you don't get to choose these things, and at least, like I said, it was fairly amicable compared to what I know a lot of other people have had to endure. I did get picked up by Home Affairs though. They came round to my house and they said, "Is you Mr. Daniels?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they said, "You have to come with us, please." And I was like, "Ah." Unfortunately, they let me ride in the front seat of the paddy wagon rather than in the paddy wagon part of it. That would have been most embarrassing. Of course, everyone in the secure estate was watching what was happening to me. They're probably like, "Ah, I knew it. Damned Australians. They're all once a criminal, always a criminal." But really, I would have thought, come on, South Africa. Isn't that a prerequisite? It seems. But yeah, we had a discussion and they said, "Well, look, leave the country, come back for 3 months under tourist visa, sort your stuff out, sell your house, do whatever you got to do, and that'll be it." And so I did. But there's a happy side to the whole story. Not getting my finger caught in there. That's not one of them. The happy side is that when I got back to Australia here in this town, first day I get here, I thought, right, since I've been booted from where I was having a good old joel of a time, I'm gonna go play some squash and have some fun. So I go down to the local squash courts, and I walk in there, and I thought, right, I'm gonna have to sign up. And there was this really hot young lady looking after the front counter. And I thought to myself, ooh, bet you this one's going to be my wife. And yeah, so she is. And that's how I met Alita. Walking into a squash court after I landed here in Australia. First day, first sight, decided this was going to be my wife. And she was. Lucky for me, I sort of like must have conned her or something. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I still had South African, I don't know, aura or something and confused her and she didn't realise who she was getting involved with. But done and dusted. The contract says we're married. She can't get out of it now. Travis, they didn't exactly tell me not to come back, but they kind of inferred it. I mean, it's not like I actually had really done anything wrong. The problem stemmed, there is a bit of a history behind this. The problem stemmed from the fact that there was a co-worker I had, and he, right from the time I arrived in South Africa, he's an Afrikaans chap, genuine Afrikaans through and through, about my age, and I didn't realise it initially, but when I got picked for the job, I actually ended up displacing him. He was anticipating on getting that job, and they just instead gave it to this annoying Australian that no one had even met. Because I just got the job off IRC. I was just chatting away to people on IRC, and they said, "Hey, we need people in South Africa to do web development. Do you want to come over?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, why not? Sounds good to me." I said, "I'll pay my ticket over there. You guys pick me up at the airport, and we'll see how it goes." And that is genuinely how it went. I gotta say though, when I landed at that airport, at what was at that time called Jan Smuts Johannesburg Airport, yeah, that was my first taste of being a minority. That was an interesting event. Obviously nothing went wrong, but it was just weird to be a minority. But that was purely in numbers, nothing else. So yeah, got there, worked straight away. I landed there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I worked probably till about 6 o'clock that night. And I think within the first week, it was pretty obvious I was going to be sticking around for a while. Oh yeah, but right, swinging back to the whole departure from South Africa thing. This guy, naturally, it turns out because it was a woman, we both kind of had eyes for the same person at the office, and I suspect, he obviously thought, right, that's it. I've had enough of this annoying Australian, and a few things happened, and then apparently they put a police report in about me saying I was a public nuisance or something. The police were obliged, obviously, to respond to that because I was a foreigner, and that's why the visa did not go through in sufficiently quick time for me to be able to keep staying in South Africa working. So yeah, so that's the background behind that one. It took me, I think it was about 2.5, 3 years before I found out about why the visa had not been renewed. So yeah, it was a little bit of a shock. Anyway, doesn't matter. Worked out well. Bit of entertaining story too. How'd your employees feel? They were pretty upset about losing me. Fortunately, I had been training up replacement people because they were shuffling me up into management, or at least planning to. So I was already working on people to look after the things I was looking after. But yeah, oh yeah, that's right. The company ended up restructuring because they lost all their money. It was a massive corporation over in South Africa, and they had their biggest year ever, and then 2 years later they basically collapsed to nothing. But fortunately they spun off their more profitable section into the hotels division, and yeah, that's where I was doing most of my work after that. Yeah, John, I was a public nuisance, public enemy. Uh, okay, speaking of being a nuisance, let's see if this even fires up or whether we've still got the same issue. Seems good, so it was the ISL. Steve, unfortunately, he actually ended up committing suicide a couple of years later. So he did marry the person that the whole fiasco sort of spawned over, and yeah, but things didn't work out, and he committed suicide. So, and now that person is actually the person of interest is actually living in Australia. In fact, a lot of the people that I worked for over there have now moved to Australia. No thanks to me though. I didn't help him one bit. I didn't even give him references. Wouldn't have had our free MacBook training. Oh, I'm sure. Well, you got Lewis Rossman and you got Tim Herman. You would have done fine. What you wouldn't have had, perhaps, is Flexboard View. But you would have had something else. I know that when Open Board View was starting to pick up, and Lewis was picking it up and sharing it and telling everybody about it, there was another person who was developing a commercial board view software solution. And unfortunately, I kind of bulldozed my way. I didn't even know about it. I bulldozed my way in and displaced that potential for them to share it. I just sort of did what I did and pushed everyone aside. I've got a bit of a habit of doing that. Is new bright. Yeah. Don't know if she was probably 2 years. Like I said, I think about 2 years they were together. Maybe more. I can't remember. I didn't go into the details much. I just heard about it and I was like, whoa, okay. Uh, it feels like it's running a bit slow. We'll see what the battery state is. Yeah, I'm a bit of... Actually, I'm just a global nuisance. Yeah. Now, this is... Okay, see, we don't have a title bar up here yet. So, something's not quite happy. Hopefully the battery will start charging. If the battery doesn't start charging, we're going to have dramas. Yeah, they can't kick me out of Australia. Okay, we are at 0% on the battery. So that could explain why it's a bit slow. At least the upside is it's detected the battery, it is reporting it. Our current, we're going to have to wait about 10 minutes maybe before it starts picking up. Just have to wait for it. Chris says you say I should put it on top of my resume as a flex. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, the speed limit right now probably be because it is at 0% battery. So we're going to watch that current value and hopefully it will start creeping up. You know, we'll start seeing 1.5, 2, 3 amps, indicating then that it's gotten through the battery is too low in voltage phase and has moved into the we can charge it properly phase. Yeah, Steve, that's actually a pretty good point there. How has the leader been? Well, we're still trying to get used to the fact that we own this house. We've been trying to decide whether we invest money into another place as well as an investment property or whether we pour money into this place like I could really do with a proper workshop shed. Like, yeah, this room and my storage room and my administration room, so I've got 3 rooms for the work that I do. Uh, they work, but it's not ideal. Particularly this room, it's extremely cramped and it does detract from being able to do work efficiently. So we are considering investing in a proper workshop shed, but that's 45, 50,000, maybe up to $60,000, which is a big chunk of change considering that we bought this place for 180. How are we going with that current? It's going to take a while, but yeah, we also got a bit of a time constraint on our backs. Now, I can get the money. The money's not the problem. It's a case of how to best utilize that money. And we keep sort of chopping and changing. The trouble is, while we're doing that, we are in a bit of a limbo state in this house. So, the renovation works aren't being done. We've got the walls knocked down, but there's power points dangling from the ceiling. The paint isn't done. The floors aren't. We're walking around. Half the house is just concrete floor. It's not tiled or anything. So it's in that very unsettled state, which makes it hard if you want to try and feel like you're living in a home, because you can't decorate, you can't get furniture, and you're disinclined to do small things because you worry that, when we do the renovations, it's going to have to move all that out, or it's going to just get damaged. And okay, we're up to 3.5 amps. That's great. The battery's charging. Ask Davy James for investment advice. I'll let Dave do his own thing. I saw he had a video about investment advice. I'm not sure what that was about. Something about 400,000. Everything I described sounds more like a modern hipster ambience. No, we don't like the ambience. I got to tell you now. We have one room in this house that is how we want, and that is the back patio that we enclosed. I think that was not too bad. It was about 12,000 Australian dollars to do that, and that's about a 7.5 by 2 meter room. It was a veranda, but we just closed it all in with stud wall and plaster, and then ship plank paneling on the outside. Painted it, tiled it, and now we are waiting for the shipment of tiles to arrive from Italy. Who knows when that will? Hopefully Christmas it'll turn up. Once we've got the tiles, we can then do the rest of the top part of the house. This house is really two houses. We've got the part of the house where we lived for about 2 years while the other part of the family was down here. When I say upstairs, downstairs, it's really only like a 2-step difference. That's all. It's not like actual 2-story house. It's just a stepped house. Anyway, so we want to try and fix up that top portion of the house so that it's perfect, and that means we have to rip out everything. There's no ceiling in about a third of it. It's just, you just see the sheet iron. The termites got into that, and that was 18 years ago. We ripped that down and it still hasn't been fixed up. So there's a lot of work. I'd say this house is going to suck up another $100,000 easily, but at the end of it, it's a 200 square meter house on a half-acre plot. Yeah, half-acre plot. So what is that, 2,000 square meters? It's going to be worth it. You know, it will end up being worth a $280,000, $300,000 house, but we just got to get it done. Is that? Anyone else think it's, hey, 10-minute tech? What's out of focus? You mean this? During the 80s in Australia, I had a residency application for 4 years. No decision was ever made, and when I left the country, immigration seemed to know nothing about my application. Colonel Panic, that sounds horribly Australian. That's terrible. Was that through Canberra somewhere that you had to deal with that? Yeah. So, let's see. Miles. Given how much the price of shot up in property over the past year, I don't think it would be best time for purchasing investment property. Fortunately, the investment property that we're looking at is effectively immune to the inflation that we're seeing, because it really is a piece of land that has a house that's so bad on it that it's a liability, not an investment. It will cost us more. How can I put it? The place would be technically worth more if the house wasn't on it. Put it that way. So. Travis, yeah, we have I'm trying to think now. We have an east-west wing, and we have a northeast-southeast type wing. Yeah, it's a boomerang-shaped place. Okay, so how much we've got? We've only got 1% charge, so I'm going to have to wait a little bit longer before I run the test. So I'm just having a look to see what the Dave... See, he was comparing losses with Lewis's 200,000 loss. Oh, that's a question as opposed to statement, I presume. Lewis's loss, I think, is more a case of the... isn't it because the rental agreement, that's the back pay that he has to deliver? I think it's like 70,000 or something like that. And then there would be, of course, the downturn losses. I think with Lewis, I mean, it's really unfortunate. I shouldn't say unfortunate. I mean, he would have had to have paid that 70,000 under normal circumstances. But I think realistically, Lewis still did pretty much... He made the right choice at the time. And, okay, it wasn't... In hindsight, perhaps he could have done things differently, but I think if he hadn't have moved, I think it would have backfired even worse than the scenario that he's dealing with now. But, yeah, each to their own perspective on whether things were the right or wrong choice. I suspect that if he hadn't have moved, then, I don't know, I feel like he would have started actually suffering a business crush more than anything else. Dave is comparing rental to buying his business park. Which one? I'm guessing then Dave rents his business park as opposed to owns it. You could always buy a house and then cart over to your property by truck. Well, what I'm thinking of is if I get the workshop, I can get a tax break on it. I get 20,000 immediately off, reclaimed, because it is for business. But if I buy the other property, I can't get a tax break on it. Build your own train. Where to? Okay, we're up 4%. Okay, we might be able to run Valley now. Usually I wait to 10%, but we're running out of time here. It's midnight. I mean, we all make decisions that we look back on and sort of go, maybe I should have gone the other way. But in fairness, we do construct a superior version of how we think events would have gone for the choice that we didn't make. It's just what we do. But realistically, it could have actually ended up being a very bad choice, and things went even worse. So I don't think we should beat ourselves up too much, unless I've decided that I'm going to beat myself up, in which case I know what I'm talking about, and therefore I would be correct. And yeah. Jim, you're still holding in there. Are you on some nice drugs tonight? Trying to keep that pain under control? I hope you are. Okay, we're doing 14 frames per second, and look, I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure what my 1425's. Okay, 24 now. And we're starting to see some heat on the CPU, so that's actually good. That's what we wanted. Yeah, exactly, Dennis. It's part of life, yeah. And you really have to work hard on not beating yourself up over those choices. You have to see if you can learn anything from them, and take that forward with you. But beating yourself to a pulp over them, if it is just simply a choice that didn't actually affect other people badly, like criminally or anything like that. So from my perspective, as a very limited knowledge person of Lewis's affairs, I feel like he made the right choice to go to the new location. I just feel like it was just bad luck how things panned out. Not to mention, I don't know how much he lost on the whole first time they tried to renovate it. Maybe if the renovation or the fit out was done right the first time, he wouldn't be hurting quite so much. If only I'd mined Bitcoin when I first heard of it. Yeah, indeed. For many of us, yeah. Alright, well, the frame rate's a little bit low on what I would expect, but I'm going to go check back on my old documentation for the 1425 and see what sort of frame rates I normally should be expecting from it. It doesn't feel like it's genuinely lagged or anything like that. It just feels a bit sluggish. But the menu responses and such, they're all good. So they're all nice and snappy. So I think it may be just a case of the GPU's not HD 4000, so maybe that is to be expected. Alright. Okay, well, I think that'll do for tonight. Amazingly, we fixed a 1425. It's not really, like I said, what I normally bother to fix, because they are temperamental little beasts and they don't have the best supply of parts for them. But, so, in the end, it would appear, for reasons that we don't know, because we don't know what the prior repair fixed, we had a problem where we blew the 10 ohm input resistor for the 342 circuit, and whatever that was also took out the ISL. So I don't know, maybe they put the battery on wrong or something. I just really don't know. Maybe it was a bad MagSafe. You know, I mean, crikey, that poor connector onto the mainboard is melted as. And then of course there's all the general corrosion on the board as well. Now the general corrosion at least we can fix up with the good ultrasonic clean, and hopefully, really hoping, that when I do clean this, it still works afterwards. So, yeah. Pardon me. I think Lewis is a bit harsh on himself. I do too agree. But many a time we are, well, I know I'm very harsh on myself in terms of public because I tried to beat that lesson into myself. So perhaps when we're overly harsh, at least seemingly overly harsh, it's merely so that we remember the lesson or at least try to learn from it. So, yeah, anyway. Alright, I am out of here. Eugene was the name, thank you. And the one that crashed into Lewis on his, in the truck. So, yeah. I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Take care. I don't know what I'll have next. Guess it'll be a surprise. I'll catch you later.